Hello, hello, hello. Hey, church family, how are you guys doing? Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. We don't know when you're going to catch this broadcast, so we are so glad that you decided to tune in for another episode of Living in the Word, where we are continuing our discussion on love. Love 101. 101. We're going back to the basics.
Yes.
As we are here today, we are so excited that, like we said, that you decided to join us. If you have any questions or comments, we would love to read them. Feel free to leave them in the comment section down below. Also, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Let us know how this message is being a blessing to you. We are here at Nineveh Missionary Baptist Church, where we are located at 1067th Street North, Birmingham, Alabama, 35206. If you would like to join us in person, live, and in color, we would love to have you on Sundays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time or on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. for our Bible study, as well as our individual book studies at 7 p.m. But if you can't come, can't make it, or even if you're going to make it, but you just want some prayer, please call us on Wednesday nights at 5:30. That phone number is 351-999-3535. We would absolutely love to have you. And again, if this message is being a blessing to you, let us know. We'd love to hear about it.
Yes.
Are those all of our announcements?
I think so.
Okay, I was making sure. I kind of ran through it a little quick.
You're getting good.
I'm
You're getting really good.
I'm excited to get to the word. I'm really excited. And I'm caffeinated. Okay. So grab your coffee, get your Bible, get your pen, and let us discuss Love 101. We are talking today about loving your neighbor as you love yourself.
This takes me back to my UAB days.
All right.
Yeah, everything was 101. Had to start at the beginning.
All right. It's funny you said that because my class that I'm teaching is like $7.99.
Ooh.
And I was like, woo, we out.
Yeah, well, the 101 are the basics.
I never made it to the 799.
You never made the 799s?
I relished the 101.
No, that's right. Well, we've got Professor Avery here in person. Avery, I love you.
I love you too, Daddy.
Vanessa, I love you.
Oh, I love you too.
Pastor Will, love you, brother.
Boom. I love the different levels of love. I love how that went.
Yeah. You know, love is more than just a word.
It is.
You know, it's just not something that you say. It's not something that you think, and it's not a feeling. It's something that you do.
All right.
And so, you know, this I believe is a great lesson that we're going to be teaching tonight, that we're going to be talking about tonight. We're really not teaching it because we're all in the process. Now, one of the things that I really love about what we're doing right here today, tonight, with these people, because that person and that person, they love more than anybody that I know.
Pastor Will, you do love more than anybody. I know.
They love.
I don't know why I got put in that category with you.
More than anybody that I know. And they love hard, they love real, they love sacrificially. And so it's really good. You know, I know we didn't talk about this before, but we're just gonna make this a question and answer.
Go ahead.
No, I was
Okay.
joking.
I was like, go ahead. Don't know what you're gonna get.
Oh, how can I love? Because you know what I do is I watch people. We've always been people watchers, right? Mm-hmm. And I see the level of love that they have for different people and what they do for people, and it makes me question my level of love.
Okay.
It really does. I'm like, God, Lord, how do you love like that? Now, what we promised you on last week is that we talked about you should love the Lord thy God with all your heart, with all your might, with all your soul, and with all your strength. But what we promised you today is that the second part of that, and it says, love your neighbor as yourself. Mm-hmm. So I guess the question is, how do you love your neighbor as you love yourself?
Well, I guess I want to answer that with a question. How do you love yourself, and how do you know if you love yourself?
Ooh, taking us back.
Okay.
Oh, you asking me?
Yeah, I mean, I think
Okay.
we have to establish what does it mean to love yourself first,
Yes.
right?
Right.
Yes.
It's so funny. I saw a meme one time that talked about, like self-care. It was a couple of years ago. I said maybe about 5 or 10 years ago when all the self-help books were like really pushed out. And me and my friend, Clintisha, shout out to Clint. We call each other friend. Like, so it was like, friend. Like, I saw this thing on the
Yes.
internet. And it talked about self-love or self-care is more than just going to the spa or doing all of these different things, going to the spa, going to get your nails done, eating right. That self-love and self-care also has a form of discipline in how you have your self-talk or how you practice your, take care of your spiritual, your mental, your physical, and your emotional well-being.
That's good. That's good. Because, I mean, self-love, there's self-preservation that's included in self-love. You do things that you know are going to make your life better. Maybe things that are going to add years to your life. Things that are going to promote, a good feeling.
Like working out, taking your vitamins,
Absolutely.
eating right.
Yes.
And yeah, I agree. I agree with that. But here's what I think is that you can't love yourself unless you have some type of revelation of God's love for you.
Okay.
Okay? If you don't have a revelation of God's love for you, I think I gave y'all an example earlier, is I'm an inventor. Okay? And I invented a Tesla.
Ooh,
Yeah.
fancy.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah.
big one.
My name, my middle name is Musk. Okay. And I put everything into it. I got the funding. I put all my money into it, and I designed it. I figured out how to make the motors work and the batteries and everything else, so that I can have this electric car. But I said, I not only want to have an electric car, I want to have a self-driving car. And so I figured out a way where I could download my software into it so that it would learn how to drive. And it would make mistakes, but it would talk back to me, and I would talk to it, and it would make a mistake, but I didn't throw it away. I just kept making it better. As long as you talk to me and I talk to you, I'm gonna keep making it better. And I just kept on and kept on and kept on, and now I can drive. And I'm proud of that car. If the car scratches, I clean it up. If the car goes in the ditch, I fix it. And I believe that is how God views us. He knows everything about you, everything that's in you. He has a way of communicating and getting back and forth to you. And when you feel like you can't do anything, he says, yes, you can. And if you'll listen, I'm gonna fix it. And see, a lot of us, we have this view of God as somebody who's judging you. Somebody who's always, he's so much better than us. And it's no way that I can be right, in his eyes. But really, he's your creator. And he's doing everything to make you better, to get you to the level where he wants you to be.
Yes.
And so if you have that view of God in your mind and in yourself, it's hard for you to love yourself. So when you make a mistake, you loathe on it, but he's saying, don't worry about it, buddy. Get up, buddy.
I think that's great theology, Deacon Brian, because, when you read the Bible, I think we should read it through the lens of God's love. You think
yes.
about it, in the beginning, here's man, he's created in the image of God. He sins, he's banished from God, but then God immediately, going back to your illustration, he starts to reach out and find a way to reconcile man and bring man back to into his presence. And so everything that we're reading, you know, man goes into bondage. God comes up with a priesthood. Then he comes up with these purity laws. Then he institutes a system of rituals and sacrifices. He's doing like your Tesla. He's doing all these things because he loves his man, his woman, and he wants to bring them back near to him.
So that it can fulfill its purpose.
Absolutely.
Yes. And so, and that's,
Off camera, we have Minister Cole.
Minister Cole.
Who wants to chime in. He wants in on this conversation.
Okay.
what's he saying? Ooh, 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 please pick me.
Pick me.
Yes.
But what I was thinking about when you made the statement about people judging themselves or having this thinking that God is judging them, often that is their self-talk.
Yeah.
And that's how they treat other people.
Oh, God.
So when cousin pops up pregnant out of, instead of meeting them with grace, it's, well, she shouldn't have been fast and she always been like that. And so their self-talk on the inside of their mind is judgmental. And so their perception of God, how can I love somebody as I love myself, or even as Christ loves, when I think this way? The way that my brain works is this way. And so my perception of everybody is going to be that way. God, my spouse, because that's how I think. And so if I was them, that's what I would think about me.
Yes.
Yeah, I've said this before. You really can't comprehend God's holiness without a revelation of his grace. Because otherwise, you'll always see what God is requiring of us as legalism. Look at all these rules. Look at all these taboos. Look at all these thou shalt nots. But, it's just like you're driving down the road and you see a sign that says bridge out. And, immediately you just go, Avery, oh, they just don't want me to have any
They
fun.
just won't have me have any fun. They just gonna tear the bridge down.
Yeah.
My
so-
taxpayer dollars just gone
Exactly.
to waste.
So God puts all of these warnings and he puts all of these things in place because he knows that they're destructive. Because he knows how he created us and he knows what causes us to have that abundant life.
And I hate to do the technical Tesla thing, but that was the big thing. They had to teach the car to look at the signs and recognize the signs, and they had to put the rules in there just so that it would know how to drive on the right side of the road. Then they had to teach it to recognize a dog, a cat, a bird, and everything else, just so that when the dog walked out, it would stop, and things like that. And when we look at as the creator, all he's doing is trying to get you to make it to your purpose.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, love is the very essence of God, and I think we have to start with that as the foundation. We remember when Moses wanted to see God's glory, and we have these super quasi-spiritual ideas about what God's glory looked like. So God says, well, you can't see my full essence and live. No man can do that. He says, but what I'll do is I'll put you in the cleft of the rock, and then I'll pass by, and you can see my hind side, right? And then the Lord passed by and began to declare, I'm loving, I'm kind, I'm slow to anger, I'm gracious. So the essence of God is how much he loves, how compassionate he is toward his people that he created in his Imeo Deo. We're in his image. And we as believers, especially if we're going to be Christ-like, we must see every person in the Imeo Deo, every person in the image of God. And if we cannot connect to that Christ-like in them, we'll never be able to love them the way God loves us.
Right.
100%.
I just wanted to just kind of bring out a scripture here that I had been kind of meditating on for earlier part of this week. It says, therefore, if there is any consolation in Christ, if any comfort of love, if any fellowship of the Spirit, if any affection and mercy, fulfill my joy and by being like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind. Let nothing be done through selfish ambition or conceit. Be in lowliness of mind. Let each esteem others better than himself. Let each of you look out not only for his own interests, but also for the interest of others.
Where was that?
That's in Philippians 2, the first to the fourth verse. And that last part where it says, let each of you look out not only for his own interest, but also for the interest of others. When we see need, when we see lack, when we see someone messing up, someone has stepped out or made those things, don't esteem yourself, but look out for the interest of that individual. And if you look out for the interest of that individual, that's how I want my neighbor to love me. So that's how I need to love my neighbor.
Yes.
It's not, oh, you messed up, but how can I help you?
Yes.
You know, you
Yes.
stepped in that. Let me get you something to clean you up.
Yes. Yes.
And if we can do that, then, you know, as a Christian, our responsibility, what we're working for, is to please God.
Yes.
You know, how do you please God? Take care of your neighbor.
Yes.
Love your neighbor. Take
Yes.
care of somebody.
Yes.
You know, I was thinking about that as you were talking about somebody messing up. It's hard to do that when you see adults messing up. Okay? But I look at everybody as a kid.
Okay.
That's my
Okay.
secret. Okay?
Okay.
That's my secret. I believe everybody's a kid in some aspect of their life. When I see people messing up, I don't care if you're 80 or 8. I see you as a little kid. And that is a place where you might need to be working on. And I actually treat you like a kid there. You know what I'm saying?
That's
You know,
dangerous.
yeah, you know, let me fix that. I want to make sure I fix that because I was thinking about, you know, the kid that stepped in it. And what do you say? Oh, you stepped in it. No. Hey, buddy, you gonna be all right? You know, hey, you know, you come over here. Let me get your shoe. Let me tie your shoe up. Let me wipe it off. And that's what you do. Hey, buddy, you gonna be all right? Rub it off. You know, but everybody, I don't care if Pastor Will is a kid in something. I'm a kid in something. I might, you know, you might see me doing this, and I might be an adult here, but it's something that I'm a kid at. And that helps me have empathy when people really mess it up.
Yes.
And
Well, you know, you talked about earlier how oftentimes the love that we have received increases our capacity to give love. You know, when I think back, I had a very, very loving grandmother. And I spent a lot of time in her presence. She was one of these grandmothers who could, you know, and we had some family members who could really create drama. But she was so forgiving, and you know, she didn't believe in banks.
Okay.
So she would keep her cash roll in her mattress. Oh, and by the way, she didn't believe in doctors either. So whenever she got sick, she was a mess. But anyway, but I also had a very loving mother. And so a lot of times, you know, when people say, you know, you're really a compassionate guy, I think back on the love that I have received, and in addition to that, the love that I've received from God, because I understand what a mess I was. And, you know, a lot of people look at it like, well, you weren't that bad. You know, you were a church boy, and, you know, you grew up and you had moral standards. that has nothing to do with what my heart looked like.
Yeah.
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 My heart was black, just like everybody else's, you know. But he forgave me, and he demonstrated his love for me even when I was a sinner. And so I think that also helps us have the ability to love others.
That's good.
Amen. You know, it's all about purpose. You know, God has a purpose for everybody. And you see the quirky person, you know, and they say, oh, that person is weird, or that person is different. But if you put the right person in the right place and with the right purpose, that person is a genius. You know, and part of the problem that we have with people is that they're not in the right places. They're seeking the wrong purpose, and you got a leader that needs to be in charge, but he's sweeping the floor, and telling everybody what to do and being mean to everybody.
Right.
You know, but what God does for us, if you'll listen to him, he'll say, sweep the floor good, and eventually I'll move you to the next level. You know, or do this right, and eventually I'll move you to the next level, and then you will make it to your purpose. And so that's what we end up getting a lot of the times. But the other part that we need to make sure that we do, and we need to see God in, if we're going to love our neighbors as ourselves, we need to understand, first of all, that God, when he created you, he really created you. You know, he made all the animals. He made the trees. He made the moon. He made the stars. He's this all-powerful, all-knowing God. He did all of that, right? Okay. And then he got the dirt, put it together, and breathed himself into you. So of course you're wonderfully and fearfully made. And then the other part of the revelation that we've got to get is that not only is he our creator, he's our father. And see, you've had a great example. You've got of love, and I had a great example at my house I had a father and a mother that was there, that loved me, that showed me, that disciplined me, that gave me some of the things that I wanted, and the things that I couldn't get, I knew that they if they could have given it to me, they would have given it to me. Okay? And so we've got those examples, but what I've learned is that a father's love for his kid is great. Because I remember not only did my dad love me in the fact that he would take me and teach me and get me to do things and everything else, but he also loved me to the place of discipline.
Yes.
I remember we stole those books. Oh my God.
What?
Oh my God. I love my daddy. You know, I love my daddy.
Talk about it.
But I was terrified of my daddy too. We stole some free books, Avery.
How do you steal something that's free?
He's about to tell you.
I'm so confused.
You know, I love my daddy. My daddy, you know, I would work with him. I wanted to be with him everywhere. My daddy smoked. He was a chain smoker. And so I would be in the car sniffing that smoke. Oh, I just loved how that smoke smelled. And I never smoked. I don't smoke. But I wanted to be next to my daddy. I would breathe the way that he breathed and everything. And so to the point that my daddy called me old man.
Oh man.
I was old. Come here, old man. And I would get in the car and we would go and do whatever we wanted to do. And but so I loved him. And I stole those books. And
What books did you steal?
we had this book giveaway at school. And they were giving free books away, but they were only giving one book. And so one of my friends came up and said, "Hey, I got 3 books." I'm like, "What? 3 books?" I said, "How'd you get 3 books?" And he held his shirt up here and stuffed them down his pants.
Oh my gosh.
And he talked all the friends into getting them. And so we stole them, and then we got caught. And my daddy said, Brian, did you steal those books? I said, no, Daddy, I didn't. He said,
We're stealing and we're lying.
he said,
now.
look, he said, I'm going down to that school. If you stole those books, you know what's going to happen. And I was like, yes, sir. I did not steal those books. We get in the office, and the guy who talked us into stealing the books, he said, I stole one book, and he stole one, and it was him and him and him. And my daddy looked at me, and I just started crying.
Oh my God.
He's gonna kill me.
Oh my God.
He's gonna kill me.
How old were you?
I was sixth grade.
Okay.
Sixth grade, and but I love my dad, and I understood him. I respected him as a father because I knew that he had lost his job, and after he lost his job, he did everything. He that's why I know that I can do anything. My dad was everything from a junk man. He would build houses. He did everything. You name it, he did it.
Yes.
And most of the time, I was right there with him.
Right.
He was a mechanic. He knew how to work on cars and
Yeah.
anything else.
Taught me how to grill a steak.
Talk me that's how we grill steak. We would
And
go
you grill a
fishing.
nice steak.
We would go fishing and everything. I know my father as a father.
Yes.
And if you know God as your father, you know that no matter what. See, when my dad died, see that's the bad part about it. But when my dad died, I cried. But I knew that every time he called me, I was there. And every time he called me, or every time I called him, he was there. And so there was no regrets. And so when you have a father and you know God is your father, your whole self-esteem changes. You know he's strong. You know he's smart. You know that he loves you.
Yes.
You know that
Yes.
he loves you. And so now I can love my kids, right? I can love my wife, right? I can love my fellow people, right? You know, because I was around my dad.
Yeah.
I watched him do it. You know, and that's and then I can move on, and you know, he didn't handle everything right, but I learned from that too. You know, you can
Yes.
learn a lot from a good example and a bad example. And so, but we've got.
But
Yes.
I think you said something. I think when you were talking about how your relationship with your dad gave you confidence, I think that we have to apply that back to God, because I think our relationship with God gives us confidence to move properly in the world.
Okay.
And I think sometimes we're so self-centered that we don't, you know, it's all about me, 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 me. And then some of us don't have any confidence to walk in anywhere. But I think when you have a perspective as God your father, because then I can then relate to your story about how you talk about a father, because now I got the confidence to do crazy stuff like dig a hole and build a pool.
That's true.
Right.
I'll be like, where did he get that from?
Yes.
But it gives you this dare I say holy confidence that says, I'm made in, and Pastor Will has been throwing away the Imago Dei, or the image of God. I'm made in the image of God. God, when he spoke, creation became a thing. So that's on the inside of me. And so it's not, oh, me, 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 but I know that I was created with the ability to do whatever. And I think sometimes we fail to view our image of God the right way. Because sometimes we be like, well, you know, I'm just everything and I can just be. But when I say I'm in the image of God and there is creation on the inside of me, I can go do. And I think you got that from your father, but you also didn't get that from God. Because, you know, granddaddy built some stuff, but some of the things I've seen he built weren't great.
Oh yeah.
But what it did is it instilled confidence, right? And then that creativity, then God can perfect. And then it can be used for the kingdom. And not even in a boastful way, you can even look around the things at Nineveh that God has blessed you to be able to build through creativity, because you had the confidence then to do it. And so I think we have to look in the mirror of our Bibles and at the mirror of, the glass. And if we look in the mirror of our Bibles as God as Father, then we have to then ask the question, what does that enable to me to be able to do? And I'm gonna say this last thing, and I'm gonna let y'all have it. We spend so much time talking about purpose, almost to the point that we idolize purpose. And our purpose is to live in the image of God. And I think a lot of us are like, well, my purpose is to go and be an NBA player. My purpose is to go be Joel Osteen. My purpose is to be wherever God wants me to be. And if I can be in the place wherever God wants me to be, he will then equip me to be that. And if that's loving my neighbor and being present or stopping on the side of the road, that's my purpose. And I'm going to leave it alone, get off that soapbox.
Avery, you've been quiet. What does loving your neighbor as yourself mean to you?
I have been quiet because I've been reflecting. I've been taking it all in. You've probably seen my eyes looking around. I've been trying to figure it all out because sometimes I feel like I love others more or better than I love myself. Like I am the giver. My mom and my aunts call me Lamb Chop because it was like my favorite cartoon growing up. she's just a sweet little lamb. Like she doesn't really, she doesn't really fight much, or I can be a little feisty. That's part of me, but I'm very much so a lover and a sharer and a giver, and I don't like conflict. I don't like being wrong. And sometimes it's easier for me to love other people and to give them grace than it is for me to give myself. Last night I was in bed with Cole, and we're married for the first time. Folks who don't know, they're like, what? We're married.
Got the ring on.
Both of them. But I was asking him, like, what's something that we've been married 6 months, and I was like, what's something that you learned about me in the last 6 months that you didn't necessarily know before we got married? And he said, you do not see yourself like the way that it really is, or in reality. Like, not that you don't see yourself properly. I think that's what he was going into, but he really kind of went into this perspective of you don't always see what other people see. And I was like, you're right. Like, I was sitting here reading through my journal. We talking about loving yourself, and I was looking at all my prayers about me telling God how horrible I was, and how I'm so trash, and how I need help, and like I can't do it. And as you were talking, this is my father-in-law, when you heard me call him Dad, of just that, he is the inventor. And so I'm sure if that Tesla ever talked back and said, I can't drive down this road, well, they not going to pass laws to let me do this. Like, how you expect me to do this? I'm just a machine. Like, I can't even talk. This is your voice that you programmed in me to talk back to you. But I feel like that's how my relationship with God has been right now. Like, it's his breath in my body. Like, I say I have the mind of Christ, but then I let my mind go wild and rampant, and I don't take captive those thoughts, or I don't, talk to myself the way he would talk to me. And we were in the car on the way over here, right, this evening, and I was like, I feel like I'm not doing enough, or I feel like I'm not, good enough, or all of this stuff. And he kind of, I think Cole's kind of sick of it at this point. He's just like, whatever, girl. Like, you're teaching a class at the law school, you're practicing law, you just want to try out. Like, what else do you want? But it is because I am just being a student of the process of learning, like, his love can't be earned, and his love does not require my perfection. That was the one thing that I did want to share. I was watching this clip from Priscilla Schreier. I think it was on Erica Campbell's Instagram, and she said, if the devil, I've heard the phrase, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. But what she said is, if the devil can't make you bad, he'll try to make you perfect. If he will, like, tempt you with this idea that you have to be perfect, that you should strive for perfectionism, that, you're not good enough, and like this overwhelming sense of perfectionism, which kind of can result in a whole bunch of different things, whether it be suicidal thoughts because you feel like you're not good enough, whether it be procrastination because you won't ever get started on anything. And she said it completely distorts and these weren't her words, I'm summarizing it, but it completely distorts what God is trying to do in you, which is perfect you. like the enemy has got you so focused on you're not perfect. And of course you're not perfect. You can't be perfect. That's why there's Jesus. And he would, as antichrist as he is, he's not the opposite of Christ. He's as close to Christ as you can get without being Christ. So he's going to push you to try to be perfect, knowing good and well that you cannot be perfect because you cannot be Christ. Instead of the opposite side of that, play on words of God in this journey, in this walk, is to perfect you, is to renew you, to restore you, to recreate you, to redeem you back into himself unto completion, which is the day of Christ. Whether that be the day that you go to glory or the day that he come and get you. But either way, it's the same situation of realizing that love gives me permission to not be perfect because I can't be perfect, because love was perfect. Capital love is in like the pronoun for God. He was perfect and he came and died and lived a perfect life and died a sinner's death so that I could walk in that with him. And sometimes I think that it's a really fine line and it's really dangerous, right? And I don't want to go on a tangent here, but I've heard that the devil can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And if you haven't heard it, basically it means like if he can't tempt you with sin or drugs, alcohol, or reprobate mind, whatever the situation may be, he'll bog you down and make you so busy that you don't have time for God. You don't have time to do anything. You are just stretched entirely too thin. You don't rest. You don't have your Sabbath. You just go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. But another coin of that is also that he will make you so focused on something that you cannot be in order to wear you completely out, wear you down. And just giving yourself permission to accept God's love, that you don't have to be that busy, you don't have to try to be perfect, even if you are a sinner. None of that is the standard. The standard is just God, he loves you, and there's nothing you can do to earn it, nothing you can do to lose it, and giving yourself that kind of grace to carry everything on. And I think some of the times, like, if you will release that, a lot of the saints would release some of the pressure that they feel to perform or to be perfect. And it'll also release some of that judgmental spirit because you'll realize that you can't and they can't either. So it's a perspective change.
And knowing that he knows you better than you know you.
Right.
And so, with that being said, I can't trust my own thoughts about myself because his thoughts are higher than mine. His ways are higher than mine. Like, he called me. Like, I don't even have the right to talk. As the Tesla, I don't have the right to talk back to you. I don't have the right to tell God what I can't do. We have a relationship. We can talk and we can communicate. We see in the Bible where Moses is like, God, I don't know if you can send me to talk to these people. Like he invites us in the relationship part to commune with him, but at the end of the day, he's the master and I'm the servant.
He knows what he put into you.
He knows what he put into me.
Yes.
And I'm sure it sounds foolish to him. I'm sure he chuckles at me regularly, like, girl, hush, like, or like, go to bed.
I love your transparency, and as you were sharing, I thought about the verse that says, "Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." I think that as a believer, I think that more people will see Christ in your humility than they would see Christ in you if you were arrogant. And you do have a lot going for yourself. I literally adore you. I admire
I'm
you.
crying.
You are amazing. And many people who had accomplished what you have accomplished, they would be narcissistic.
Yeah.
I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell them a thing. But I love the humility that you walk in. And
Well, thank you, Pastor. I needed that because, but also keeping in mind the sin check of, insecurity and pride is really just the same thing. It's having more weight. Like if you had a scale, you put more weight on you than you did on God.
yeah.
Whether it's you're too arrogant or whether it's you don't think highly enough of yourself. It's
Yeah.
still, it's pride and insecurity is the exact same thing.
I do. I believe that. I believe that the way God sees it, it's the same. They're both sin. There's no little sins. There's no white sin. But here's what I believe. I believe that when you're at the other extreme, you can hurt more people. And I see so many Christians who can hurt people and think nothing about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we're having this conversation now. And I know next session we're going to talk a little bit more about recapturing or reclaiming the image of Jesus that has been so tarnished by the Christian world.
Yeah.
Because literally we are a harsh, hateful people.
And
But
we're
we-
supposed to be known by our love.
Yeah.
But I think that's like the paradigm. Like America is supposed to be one of the richest nations, but it's got some of the most poverty, some of the most, homelessness. Like it's that paradigm shift of what it's supposed to be versus what it is. So I think
Absolutely.
that's a great closing place for us.
Yeah.
Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'm sorry y'all had to witness me cry, but get your own tissue, figure it out yourself, and we hope that you'll come back and join us. I want you to remember that if no one else tells you today that we love you,
We do.
Absolutely.
We love
we
you.
absolutely love you. And Pastor, I've been just using your phrase for so long because you hadn't been here. I was like, no weapon formed against you will prosper.
That's
but it sounds
true.
better when you say it. You
No
gotta
weapon
say it.
formed against you shall prosper, and we love
Amen.
you from the bottom of our hearts.
See you next time.